Hi, Kathy. It's Stacy. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We are good to go. Well, I need to start the recording here real quick and then we'll be good.
No problem. Get everyone a moment.
Okay, we are now streaming and recording, so you are good to take the meeting.
Great. Thanks so much. All right, we'll give everyone a chance to turn on their computers. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us for today's Public Safety and Health Committee meeting. No surprise, we are still continuing to meet virtually, and there are multiple ways in which folks can continue to participate with us in this virtual environment. And the best way to do that is to go to our website at oh my gosh, sorry guys. ci.missoula.mt.us/webcast. And that's where you'll find the link to all upcoming city council meetings, committee meetings, agenda items that you can provide public comment on, etc. So if you are participating in today's meeting and you would like to give public comment when that is called, you can just press *9 to have your hand raised and you will then be recognized. Today we have just two quick items, but first we'll do a quick roll call. Kathy, if you could do that, I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely. Starting roll call. Stacy Anderson.
Present.
Mirta Becerra.
Present.
Daniel Carlino.
Present.
John Contos.
Here. Here.
Jordan Hess.
I do believe Jordan will be absent for committee today.
Gwen Jones.
Present.
Kristen Jordan.
Present.
Mike Nugent.
Present.
Jennifer Savage.
Present.
Amber Sherrill.
She will be absent this afternoon as well.
Sandra Viseca.
Present.
Heidi West.
Present.
We have 2 absent.
Great, thanks so much. Okay, so we do have the approval of minutes from the last time, well, from the meeting we had on June 29th, which, yes, was our last committee meeting. Any amendments to those minutes? Let me see if anyone has their hand raised. Sorry, toggling back and forth between screens. All right, seeing none, those minutes will stand approved. I will make a note for the record that we currently have no audience in attendance, so no one to provide public comment on non-agenda items. So with that, we will move into our first agenda item, which is a motion to approve the mayor to sign a professional services contract with A&E Design to complete the Missoula facilities planning. And I do believe, have John Adams here.
Hi.
There he is to present. And so I'll let him take it from here.
Yep, my name's John Adams. I'm the city strategic projects administrator, and with me today is Jason White, chief of the Missoula Police Department. The project before you is a contract not to exceed $95,000 for police facilities planning with A&E. The project was authorized by council in the FY22 budget in recognition that the Missoula Police Department's space is outdated and inadequate, and more the result of making do than of deliberate strategic planning. Chief White's going to speak briefly to the need for evaluation of the police department's existing spaces and space needs that catalyzed this project. Chief White.
Thank you, John. Council Jason White, Chief of Police, Missoula Police Department. So before you today is a contract that we hope to enter into to have a professional company come and do an evaluation of our space needs. Currently, the Missoula Police Department is divided between administrative functions here at City Hall and our detective, evidence, and patrol functions over at our Catlin facility. Both facilities we have outgrown, and we are constantly finding innovative ways to shove people into offices to be able to do their work. And as we continue to grow, it will just become more and more of a burden. When you couple that with the future of whatever we do with City Hall and moving government, city government to the federal building, then we would lose our facility here at City Hall. So in order for us to make informed decisions in the future, we need to have a space needs survey completed that would give us all of the information we need to make truly educated decisions about what we do in the future. And I mean, whether it's a standalone facility or rehabbing something, we would leave that to them to figure out. But in order to do that, we need to figure out what we need now and then contemplate future growth. So the next move that the city makes regarding where the police department is housed is an appropriate one that has legs that can last for decades. So with that, I turn it back over to John. He's got a few more details. Thank you.
Just to build on what the chief was saying, we knew when we started the project that we needed to look really carefully at MPD's physical plant needs, but the project has taken on added urgency with the upcoming acquisition of the federal building. So to remind you, during due diligence in the federal building, we looked really hard at locating the police department there, and it really doesn't work because of the particular layout of the building and access to fleet. It was not a good fit. So the upshot is that once we rehab the federal building, we'll move everyone out of City Hall except MPD. And we'll then need to make choices about what to do with this property. So part of figuring out what we want to do with City Hall is determining whether MPD should be there or elsewhere. So we proposed contract with local firm A&E Design to conduct the assessment. A&E in turn has partnered with Architects Design Group, ADG, a nationally prominent law enforcement design firm. So A&E will provide local expertise and boots on the ground, while ADG, having worked on more than 300 law enforcement facilities, will help us understand the particular facility needs of law enforcement agencies and how we can solve for them. Project will proceed in two parts. First, doing a deep dive on what facilities the Missoula Police Department has and needs to function ideally. So how many square feet do we need for staff, for patrol, for processing, for evidence, for interviews, for training, for the fleet? And then second, when we have a clear understanding of the scale and types of facilities that the Missoula Police Department needs, we then evaluate alternative ways and places to meet those needs, considered against criteria like cost, impacts on service quality and efficacy, durability, accessibility, response time, and others that we'll flesh out with the design team. So, questions?
Great. Thank you for that presentation, Mr. Adams and Chief White. We'll now move from questions from council members. First in the queue, I have Ms. Vasica.
Thanks. I have seen firsthand when I toured the Catlin facility that it is massively outgrown at this moment. So I think this is a great opportunity to see what more we can do for police department in terms of giving them the space that they need to do all their activities and protect us. So I'll be happy to make this motion.
Great. Thanks so much. Okay, so continue to not have any public comment on here. Motion is on the floor. We will continue with now either questions or comments from council members. Next in the queue is Mr. Carlino.
Thanks. Yeah, just was curious. Is this coming out of the police department's budget, or how is this being funded for the facilities planning, the 95,000?
So Chief White, you can go ahead and answer, but
Yeah, this funding was allocated to the Missoula Police Department in last year's budget year.
so just as our council rules state, we have to approve contracts over a certain amount, but this was budgeted for in the last adopted budget as a item for the police department, and the police department is funded out of the general fund. Great. Next up, I have Ms. Jones.
Thanks. I'm happy to support this. And yes, having recently toured the Catlin facility, I can't believe that we already are running into capacity issues with just evidence, which Chief White, you never got to see the prior evidence situation where in the basement of City Hall, it's much, much better now, but actually we are starting to hit capacity over there. So I'm happy to support this. And I'm assuming, John, this is holistically looking at all of their needs, including whatever other office needs or space needs they're needing. And let me ask, the Catlin facility is relatively new at this point, but is the hope to have a centralized area, or is it better having satellite, or how are you approaching this, just out of curiosity?
So in some senses, we'll let the consultants help us navigate that, but I think all the early indications are that we're not big enough for kind of a precinct model, that we're going to have one central police headquarters. But you can imagine smaller facilities being recommended, like because the Catlin facility is not particularly old, it may be that evidence lives separately. Or it may be that we need a downtown, if we were to recommend moving out of City Hall, that we would need some kind of downtown public facing shop. So I'm not sure if we're gonna, this is what we got, we need to find out, and all possibilities are on the table, but I think the most likely thing and the thing we're probably pointing toward is one central headquarters, and then potentially some other smaller things.
Thanks for that, Ms. Adams. I see that Chief White has his hand raised, like to provide comment.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think that everything is on the table, and I think we're going to leave it to the professionals that do law enforcement facilities all over the nation to give us the best practices based on the size of our city, the size of our department, and our needs to respond to the different parts of the city. So we'll just keep looking at all that.
Great. Sounds like a great approach. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Okay, next up I have Miss West. Sorry, Chief White, Miss West.
I guess my question is, and you might not know the answer at this point, around the projected needs, and I guess, is there going to be a determination made on the front end if we're adequately staffed for a community of our size? And then, is the projected need based on, I guess, an ideal like staffing to population ratio? Like, what are the metrics around defining that projected need?
Again, I'll let Chief White take some.
So this contract is just for space needs, not for the proper size of the department for our city. We did that staffing study 2 years ago, and we've implemented the results of that in the beginning of 2021. So that was a separate study to look at the appropriate size of the police department. And so we continue to work through those. So this is just physical plant and how we organize our offices and that kind of thing, but not size of the organization.
Brick and mortar. Great. Thanks so much, Chief White. And then finally I have Miss Becerra.
Thank you. Chief, a little bit of evidence 101, if you don't mind. The size of evidence that you have to store ranges from keychain to a truck, correct?
Yes.
And so in terms of meeting the future needs, how long do you keep evidence for, and what happens when you no longer need it? I'm just trying to figure out, are we going to constantly be needing more and more and more space and more satellites to be able to keep all the evidence that we need, or how does that work?
Yeah, unfortunately, evidence will always be a growing problem for any law enforcement entity. So to answer your question, yes, we have everything from huge trucks down to a scrap of paper. And the retention period, quite frankly, is driven by the type of crime it's associated with. Certain crimes require us to maintain evidence for sometimes a lifetime. So, depends on the type of case. If it's a capital case, if it's a felony case, we have to hold all of that through all of the appeal processes that could go all the way to the United States Supreme Court, for example. So sometimes we can hold on to that evidence for decades. When we no longer need it, we have to get permission from the courts via the county attorney's office or city attorney's office to get a court order to release or destroy that evidence. So, and that is a long process as well. So typically, if it is a piece of evidence, we are going to be hanging on to it for years before we can get it out of our inventory. If it's found property or abandoned property, then it's a little bit quicker for us to be able to remove those items, but it is always a growing problem.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thanks. Ms. Vasika.
Thanks. So those police auctions where my husband gets too many vehicles from, are those are vehicles that have been released by the courts, or where are those vehicles from?
So the auction we just held was an abandoned vehicle auction. Those were
okay.
not evidence. Those are vehicles that people abandoned in the city that we've towed and stored in a separate storage lot. And when the legal process is done, that we have accepted title to it, that we can transfer to a new owner, then we run that auction.
And may I have a follow-up?
Yep.
And does the money that you get from those auctions, does that go back into the police department funds, or where does that money go into?
It goes to the general fund.
Oh, great, thanks.
Great, thanks. All right, well, great discussion, a little education in the midst of it all. And we have a motion on the floor. We'll continue to note for the record, we do not have any public comment. So there's none to comment on this. So with seeing no further questions or comments from council, I will ask Ms. Janney to do a roll call vote on this item, please.
Okay, Stacy Anderson,
Yes.
Mirta Becerra,
Yes.
Daniel Carlino,
Yes.
John Contos,
Yes.
Gwen Jones,
Yes.
Kristen Jordan,
Yes.
Mike Nugent,
Yes.
Jennifer Savage,
Yes.
Amber Sherrill is absent, Sandra Vaseka,
Yes.
Heidi West.
Yes.
Approved 10 yes, 0 no.
Great, thanks so much. Given that that's a contract and not a resolution or a public hearing, we'll go on our next consent agenda. We have one final item for discussion today, and it is a presentation from Assistant Chief Brad Davis, and it is a motion to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a memorandum of understanding between IAFF Local 271 and the City of Missoula for the 2022 paramedic certification program. Goodness gracious, can't talk today. So I see AC Davis has turned on his screen, and I will turn it over him to talk us through this item. All yours. Looks like still can't hear you. All right. Now it looks like you were unmuted or on mute. Now maybe you unmuting. Thing we hire him for his firefighting abilities and to save, kittens from trees and not technical assistant. Okay. Give you another minute. All right, it says it's connecting to audio, so it might just be a minute. Nope. We can read lips. But give him just a moment, folks, to get that worked out.
Brad, if you select the little arrow by the microphone, is there more than one microphone option in there? Maybe swap to a different one.
Yep.
Is this time sensitive? We're actually past time already, I think, for this.
Oh
hearing.
yes, we are 2 minutes over. It's a pretty easy one. We do this yearly. Let's see.
Maybe he can call in.
Mhm. Me.
I was gonna say, otherwise you can just kick it to next week. It's not gonna work.
Yep. Looks like, I'm hoping it looks like he might be dialing in. Yep, that's what he's doing. Okay. Yeah, this is a pretty straightforward item that we do yearly with the union and the city for the, I think it's the splitting of costs between the paramedic program. It helps to pay the tuition for Missoula College for the paramedic certification program. Okay.
Do we need him to present to vote on it if it's time sensitive? I did read the information.
I am not under the understanding it is a time sensitive item. It sounds like it is a housekeeping item, but it is a fairly straightforward item. It's just a memorandum of who is paying, how we're divvying up costs for the paramedic program. All right, we'll give him, all right. Wait, oops, there we go. I do believe he's in. Can you hear us now? Should be able to press *9 or well, you should be able to unmute. You're in the meeting. I feel like some Jeopardy music would be appropriate right now. Oh, there you are. Okay. Sounds like there's some back.
All right, can you guys hear me now?
There we go. Thanks so much.
Sorry, I had to close out of the other one. No, I apologize for all that. I'll make this brief. I know we're short on time. This is Brad Davis, Assistant Fire Chief, Missoula Fire Department. Stacy, you covered this mostly. This is something we've done this will be our third year in a row. And this is just asking approval for this MOU to be signed again this year. As with that space needs with the police department, I'm not asking for any additional money. This is money that's already been allocated in our budget. Just because of the dollar amount, I need approval to send this through the signature process. And we are taking this year to year with our local union. Essentially, this MOU is an agreement that we will pay their tuition to send our union members to paramedic school, and in return, they will waive Section 7, Article 14 of the contract, and they will do over 400 hours of this training, department sponsored training on their own time, where typically that would be eligible for compensatory time per the contract. So this is an agreement that we will pay their tuition and support them through the program, and they will waive over 400 hours per individual going through this of comp time. And I'm just asking for approval to send this to the mayor for signature, so we can send in another, I believe we have 3 students that are registering for this fall semester.
Great, thanks so much. Pretty straightforward. I see Miss Jones's hand up.
Happy to make the motion.
Okay, motions and appropriate, no public here. I have Miss Jordan.
Thank you. Hi, AC Davis. It's nice to see you again. I just had a really random question, and I'm wondering, I mean, these are EMTs for the fire department, but I'm wondering what the average salary or hourly wage is for our EMT providers, our MESI providers. Do you know that?
Are you speaking the EMS paramedics and EMTs that work for MESI, what their wage is?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm kind of crossing over a little bit. I apologize. But yes.
No, that's okay. And I don't have a great answer for that. We could probably reach out to Don Whalen and ask him what that average wage is.
Yeah, no.
But I do not know exactly what that is. Kristen,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I apologize. That was a random question, but thank you for trying.
Yep.
Great, thanks so much, everybody. Okay, so no more hands up, no audience in the attendance. So we will ask Ms. Janney to do a roll call vote on allowing this to go forward for signature.
Starting the vote. Stacy Anderson.
Yes.
Mirta Becerra.
Yes.
Daniel Carlino,
Yes.
John Contos,
Yes.
Gwen Jones.
Yes.
Kristen Jordan,
Yes.
Mike Nugent,
Yes.
Jennifer Savage,
Yes.
Sandra Fonseca,
Yes.
Heidi West.
Yes.
Votes approved, 10 yes, 0 no's.
Great, great. Thanks, everybody. Ms. West, we've eaten into a little bit of the time between this committee and your committee. Do you want to start on time at 1:05 or kick it a minute or two?
Let's say 1:10 because I imagine staff is going to have a challenging time getting it ready by 1:05.
Great. Thanks so much, everyone. With that, Public Safety and Health Committee is adjourned for today.